Hello friends, you are 17819987 back again to bring you more Pokemon Sword gameplay. Today, we are coming right off of the coattails of the last gym leader and some of the adventures afterwards. The last gym leader being Nessa. And it was not a satisfactory battle, so in the next coming gym battle, which is with Kabu, we will make an effort to do better. So, looking at our team, hasn't changed too significantly since our gym battle. We have much to look forward to today, so sit back and bring some food and drinks, maybe even a meal, or sit back with a newspaper, however you enjoy YouTube videos. I should also mention, in retrospect, that I wanted to say this in the last video, the stat distribution of Hitmonchan. This is a Pokemon that has a kind of odd stat distribution for a fighting type. We trained it last episode for defense, which was that whole training montage. However, Hitmonchan is really more oriented towards special defense, which is quite odd because it's most fighting types are more physically bulky than specially bulky. So, when I got off of Nessa's gym, I explored the town for a little bit because last episode I basically just ran right into the city and fought Nessa. I didn't hesitate. This time, I'm going to take a little bit of time to explore. What I quickly found was that there was not much on this side of town. And what I mean by that is there wasn't any items or useful services, which is quite unfortunate because I would love to use their services. But yeah, Holberry just has some NPCs. However, on the right side of town there's quite a lot more to see and do. I mean, it's a nice looking enough town. Okay, interesting fact, she asks if you know if it's male or female. The one on the far right is the female. Whoopers with shorter horns are female. So, interesting fact for you. Anyway, that's a gender difference from Gen 4, something I couldn't ever forget. Here is the train station, but this is all ancillary, all kind of secondary to what we're doing in the next part of this. So right after you go through Nessa's gym and beat Nessa, the next thing you need to do is you need to go to Galar Mine number 2. Well, Galar Mine number 2 has a lot of fights, and before we can go to that we need to do some story. So I didn't include all of this, but there were a few things I wanted to point out that I thought were enjoyable. I love these Indeedee that are standing around. I also wanted to point out a particular sneaky Wingull that is hiding in one of the frames. I never saw it before. I never saw it hiding back there. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then we skipped through the dialogue, and thought it was kind of interesting you sit with Sonia. This Indeedee back here is just chilling by the fridge, which I think is kind of funny. He's just, he wants to eat. Alright, so, go down to the Smart. I grabbed some revival herbs. Basically, if you don't know what a revival herb is, it's the same thing as a max revive. So it can revive your Pokemon to full. However, it's a little bit expensive, and it actually lowers your Pokemon's friendship level because it's bitter. But it works, so I don't care. And I actually did end up using one of them later. We got the magnet, which is kind of annoying because I really should have gotten the magnet earlier. Then this incense shop sells a variety of items that improve your stats or so on. I grabbed the lax incense, which makes it harder for any enemy Pokemon to hit you. It basically raises your evasion a little bit. And amazingly, the lax incense did come into play later, so look forward to that. We gave a Shell Bell to Rock Smash so that Rock Smash can re-heal itself a little bit. And now we're in Galar Mine number 2. There's a lot of interesting Pokemon here, but there was not really any that were terribly interesting to me. I did try to fish multiple times, but every time that I fished, I got Choodle. Which, you know, I don't have anything against Choodle or Dreadnought, and someday when I play through the game again, I probably will get a Dreadnought. But for this gameplay, I really don't want Dreadnought, so I completely forgot that Kirby appears here. So not only does Kirby appear here for just a conversation, not in the mood to deal with weaklings, and he says he's up for a battle. I completely forgot that Kirby appears here to fight me. So I was like, well, we better prepare for this. And I brought out TT into the front because TT needs some more experience. And now we're ready to fight Kirby. So this battle with Kirby, pretty much every time I fight him, it's quite annoying. I used to call him Psybeam Boy, because all he seems to know how to do is use Psybeam. Now that last move right there, he did a very smart move. TT had really low defense, and he used Psyshock, which is dependent on defense, not special defense. So he actually took out TT in one hit. So this began a long struggle with Massive Dub, in which the Gothita's and other Pokemon just nailed us with Psybeams over and over, and as you may or may not know, Psybeam can cause the confusion status effect on like by 20% every once in a while. So it can be quite frustrating to deal with. So far we haven't gotten confused, but well, there you go. Now we're confused. And this was just a long, tiresome struggle of being confused, just getting nailed by Psybeams over and over and over. He has 4 Psychic Pokemon, and all of them know Psybeam. So, or Confusion, and Confusion also, true to its name, can cause the Confusion status effect. So here's Satina. He says he wants to show you one of his new moves, and it's Psybeam again. Yeah, real smart, man. And we are going to heal up with an energy root. I picked this up. I didn't buy this from the store, I promise. And yeah, this was just a incredibly annoying battle. I was already kind of annoyed because he took out TT. So he throws in his new Pokemon. This is Galarian Ponyta. Galarian Ponyta is faster than Sayri. I was surprised by this. And in a foolish move, Sayri got confused, which is already unlucky. Pretty unlucky. And then it nailed me with another Psybeam. Confusion. And this has just been such an annoying battle. I had to speed this up because it took like a solid 12-13 minutes in real time. No exaggeration. So, yeah, it was just a battle of attrition, pretty much. We just kept fighting and fighting until all of his Pokemon were out. And sometimes that's just how battles go. So, he gives us his league card, whatever, we don't care about that. And Kirby, I'll see you later, Kirby. It was delightful. So we continued on. I actually went back to heal at the Pokeball. Why do I keep saying Pokeball Center? That's not right. I went back to heal at the little twirl there at the Pokemon Center. Pokemon Center. That's what I meant to say. And I did think about some Pokemon that appear in Galar Mine number 2, of course. Not to be confused with Galar 9 number 1, which was a few parts ago. But there are some good Pokemon that appear here. Brongolas and Scraggies and Sword and Noibats, as we just seen. A really good one is Shellos. Shellos appears here, which Gastrodon is a fantastic Pokemon to have. Honestly, I did consider Gastrodon because I really needed a water type, and I also really needed a ground type. So I was like, I might consider it. So we started off in this little trainer battle with a bad matchup. TT is not going to be able to take out a Carkol, because Carkol, despite its appearance, is pretty bulky. It has high defense. So we sent out Rock Smash to take care of him. We hit him with the classic Rock Smash combo, which is Fake Out for a quick stun move for a little extra damage. I regained a little health from the Shell Bell. It flinches because of Fake Out. And then I went for the Focus Energy. I did eventually get rid of Focus Energy because, as you're probably aware, Focus Energy raises your crit rate, your critical hit rate, by 2.5%. But every time I used it, it never actually gave me crits, and it ended up kind of just wasting a turn. So, yeah. Because Rock Smash is more oriented to special defense, as we were discussing earlier, yeah, I took those ancient powers like a champ and slammed into him with my fist, and easy done. There's still much to do in this cave. A lot of Pokemon to fight here. A lot of items to fight here. I tried to fish again. And... oh, I actually pulled in too fast. I forgot about that. Now these little Pokeball things are the... those little Pokeball things are Galarian Stunfisk. And Galarian Stunfisk are pretty irritating, being steel ground types, and they do a ton of damage. So we're in another small trainer battle. For some reason sometimes when I'm using my controller, I press the wrong button. I don't know why. We keep swapping in Rock Smash because it really needs the experience. I think it's because Rock Smash is in a experience group where it learns really slowly, so it doesn't level up very quickly, in other words. It's a nice Sunday afternoon for this recording. I am sitting back with a cup of tea and some water. And the question on my mind for today is, are you more of a snake person or bird person? You tell me in the comments. I would be interested to hear this, because a lot of people tend to be one way or the other. I mean, there's dog and cat people, but snakes and birds tends to have completely different reactions. So, easy battle for Hitmonchan. I must say I am happy to add Rock Smash to the party because he covers up a lot of weaknesses that we had before. And the addition of the Shell Bell was very helpful. to keep Rock Smash alive, essentially. Even though it had Drain Punch, which helped a lot. Okay, so I just looked it up. Hitmonchan's group for experience is medium fast. So compared to the other Pokemon here that are unevolved and still leveling up and getting stronger, compared to Hitmonchan, who is quite higher level and much further along, despite only being level 22. Basically, it's going to take more work. It's going to take more effort to get Hitmonchan to level up. And of course, the hardest experience group to train is the slow experience group. They take forever to train, no exaggeration. And they're typically legendary Pokemon or rare Pokemon. So like I said before, we tried to catch some Pokemon in the waves. I got a little irritated. I just like, screw it, and took him out with a shockwave. Kiku leveled up just from that interaction. And we're gonna move on. We've already beaten up some of the trainers here, but we're really trying to get to Kabu, who is deeper into the cave. And in order to get to him, we have to go through these Team Yell members. So I prepared for a fight. And I must say, this was an annoying fight for one particular reason. Because when you fight a Team Yell member, they always have dark types. Always. I think sometimes they may have poison types, but typically, yes, they have dark types. One of these members had a Pokemon that was quite obnoxious in battle. Very obnoxious. And you're about to see what I mean. So, we're gonna cue some old themes from back in the day. You may remember this song. Thievul has a move, and it's Snarl. Yeah, it should be Snarl. Yes, Snarl, and every time he uses Snarl, it hits both of the Pokemon on our side and lowers our special attack by 1 stage. So in other words, every single time TT gets hit, and he got critted there, every time TT gets hit, its special attack goes lower. And in thinking back, I really should have taken out this annoying Thievul earlier on, because it just kept using Snarl. It did not stop using it. And so it was very obnoxious. Meanwhile, Hop is throwing out his Corvisquire, which is honestly better than Wooloo in this situation. I have Massive Dub out. He's going to lower my attack, which was pretty irritating. So yes, this was not a fun battle at all. It's one of those interactions where it's quite annoying to deal with. And I don't necessarily hate Team Yell. No, I think that the idea is unique and interesting, and they're not really a villain organization. Not really. They're just a bunch of punks, basically. I do have to say, when I increase the speed, it's always funny to see them headbanging in the background. Alright, so I sent out my Corvisquire now. So we have 2 Corvisquires on the field. As you can see, we are still getting nailed by this really just annoying Pokemon. Thievul is still using Snarl. We avoided getting hit by double hit there, and that was an easy win for our Corvisquire. I taught Massive Dub Swagger. I personally like Swagger. It's a little risky, but it does work. So he sends out a Lightbird. Lightbird is kind of dangerous because it's very fast and it hits fairly hard. So, I was like, let's not even play around with that. I healed up first. Thwacky's already abysmal accuracy went down even lower. And we're just trying to make it through this battle because we have to do this for story reasons. Fortunately, we took out the Pancham, and all that's left is this Leopard. Leopard is not particularly sturdy, so we used Leer on him to make his defense even worse than it is. Paper thin defenses. Notice that Thwacky keeps missing, and that wraps up our Team Yell battle for today. Now, I was given the option of teaching Thunder Thing to TT, but it's not that much different than Bite, and I needed Bite's versatility. So, that's enough of that. Kabu is deeper within, and we are actually going to skip past the conversation with Kabu, I believe. We ran into the Shellos. As I said before, Shellos is a very useful Pokemon. I halfway considered getting him, I really did. But there were other water types and ground types that were more interesting to me at the time, and still to some degree. You'll notice I still keep running around. Alright, and so now we're outside of the cave. We completely skipped Kabu's dialogue. It wasn't really that important. He just said, basically, come on over to the gym and fight me. Not really that complicated. And now we're fighting some people outside for a little experience. This is directly outside of the cave on the next route. And this actually loops back to Lotustoke. And we have a little dog face-off here. It's interesting when you fight Yampers because Yampers can paralyze you very, very easily. They don't have an ability like Static that causes paralysis when you hit them, but they do have Nuzzle, which if they use Nuzzle, it will pretty much paralyze you every time. That's just how that move works. I tried to go for a cocky pluck from Arcor Squire, but it did not feint him. And as you can see, Pokemon that use Roar and switching out moves are quite irritating. So, we finished it off with a Swift, and this is just a small representation of some of the trainers that we fought here. I believe there was 3 trainers. Now, she sends out a Swoobat. Swoobat is a bit dangerous. Thankfully, we did have a good answer to Swoobat. Massive Dub will easily resist anything this Swoobat can do to us. So, I sent out Massive Dub. Notice how much this does. Pretty manageable damage. And we are going to set up a Swagger. You will notice that Ghost type and Dark type moves go through Steel type, however, Psychic does not. So, Massive Dub resists the Psychic type attacks, and resists the Flying type attacks. However, my original strategy of using Swagger started to backfire, unfortunately, because Swagger is always a risk. It is. It's a risky strategy. You raise your opponent's attack by it's 2 stages, by 2 stages, but it raises the chances that it will hit itself in confusion by a lot. And I swear it's like higher than normal confusion status rate. So, we just keep nailing the Swoobat, and I'm trying to be careful because now the Swoobat is like at 4 stages up with its attack, and it actually has managed to hit us every single time. I kind of took a risk there just to be safe, but I got at least a clean switch in, I guess. So after all the battling that I did, I went back and I did a lot more catching. I caught probably 20 more Pokemon, but I'm not going to show you all the footage. I did catch one of the Gigantamax Snorlax that we failed to catch last episode, which I don't know if I'll add it to the team, but Gigantamax Snorlax is a valuable asset. So we are going to name him. For some reason I decided to name him Babin, but then I changed it to a much more relevant reference. Oh man, Babin, like what kind of name is that? So this particular part in the wild area, when I was going around, I can't emphasize this enough, I was out there for hours. This Snorlax has a weird ability, or a weird nature. He had a speed racing nature, which is kind of strange for a Snorlax. When you look at a Snorlax, you don't imagine it running quickly, do you? I don't. I certainly don't. So we do have a certain event we need to take care of back at the Voodoo drop-in. As it turns out, Marnie has to fight us here for our story to progress. And this is actually our first fight with Marnie. I wanted to be ready because she has fairly difficult Pokemon to fight. Thankfully, we have a good answer to her dark types. I'm going to leave TT in because TT can at least paralyze anything that comes in, except for her Morpeko right there that is resistant. You actually cannot paralyze Morpeko if it's an electric move, so yeah, we're going to go right into fighting her. Normally I replace the music for most of the important battles, but Marnie's music is too good to replace, let's be totally honest. So, I completely forgot. Marnie starts off with a Krogunk, which is not a dark type, not even close. And I'm going to swap Savory in for some nice super effective damage. It uses Revenge on me, and Revenge is a very scary move, because if I hit him and do damage and he lives, which he probably would live one pluck, I think, then Revenge would do double the damage. So, I saw what he was doing, or she was doing, sorry, for this Krogunk. We don't misgender in this household. And I used Home Claws to raise my attack, so that my pluck will do more than enough damage. It's using Venoshock as well, but Venoshock is not nearly as useful if my Pokemon is a poison. And Pluck takes care of it cleanly, as was originally planned. Sometimes you have to read the opponent that way. And then here comes out here really dangerous Pokemon. Like, Morpeko it has a lot of weaknesses as an electric dark type, but it has just insane offensive abilities. It's very good at flinching you and paralyzing you. Very good at doing that. Kind of like what TT does. So, we have to be very careful with this Pokemon. Massive Dove will actually not resist the electric or dark type moves which go through its defenses. So in retrospect, I don't really know why I sent Massive Dove out for this, but I did use Swagger, because I'm just that way. I like using risky strategies sometimes, and Swagger is a risky strategy, no question. Unfortunately, it missed. I think it has 85 accuracy, I think. I might put that onto the screen just to be absolutely sure. But we are in a pickle here because none of my Pokemon swap into Morpeko, I don't know how you pronounce it. None of our Pokemon really swap into this Pokemon very well, unfortunately. Pretty much anything I send in is going to take a good chunk of damage. Morpeko is more attack oriented, and it actually did take out Massive Dove just there, which surprised me. It must have been a high roll, pretty much. So, as usual, our rival battles are either very annoying or very easy, and this is one of the annoying ones. So we start off with a fake out. We're gonna use our classic strategy here. Out of all of the Pokemon here, Rock Smash has the best tools at his disposal to take care of this Morpeko. And that went a lot better than the other Pokemon I tried to use on this. So, if you're ever fighting a Morpeko, remember a fighting type will do well. It doesn't have to be a Hitmonchan, it could be anything. And as she announces here, we have one more left. It's a Scraggy. Scraggies always have a bit of a disadvantage against fighting types, which is quite humorous to me because they are fighting types. It's a fighting type versus a fighting type. I decided to weak it with a Thunder Punch and then do the classic 1-2 where I hit it with a stronger move right after. And that's all it took. So sometimes you just have to have a powerful Pokemon on your side to help. But if I didn't have Hitmonchan, I'd say this would be probably a lot harder. The first time I played through this game and I fought Marnie for the first time, I actually lost multiple times because her Morpeko was quite threatening. So that's our little coup d'etat out of the way, and coincidentally, TT evolved right after her battle. So finally, level 26, we get our Minitrick. TT gets a significant snack boost from this, gets a lot faster and hits a lot harder, which is exactly what we need her to do. So, it stimulates its own muscles of electricity so it can move quickly. It eases its soreness with electricity too, so it recovers very easily. Interesting. So, this switches our time from night to day, which is quite funny to me because I kept going out into the wild area and it was actually still night in the wild area. That's one of those little discrepancies, but you know, it doesn't really matter. And here is Marty with her Morpeko again. Tell me if you think it's pronounced Morpeko or Morpeko. Because I thought for the longest time it's probably pronounced Morpeko. Notice the Voodoo in the background that is just barely within our sight. It is the Voodoo drop-in. Notice she gave us 2 burn heals. And we're going to need those for Kabu later. So, in preparation for both this video, notice this guy, I quit my job just so I could watch the Pokemon League challenge. That's quite funny now, in our day and age, in this moment of the video, with all the coronavirus stuff going on. But anyway, I spent a very long time trying to get the right setup for Kabu. And I will show you his team later, but I was very concerned because normally around this time of the video, okay, well, we should talk about Minitrick. Minitrick got a 73 speed boost, very quick, easily the fastest of the party. And TT's special attack and attack is also higher. Special attack at 60, attack at 53, so that's pretty good. Though I'll primarily be using special attack. My only regret is I wish he would learn a better special attack. So we do a little inspection of our Pokemon here in the wild area. It had not changed yet. It's still rainy and snowy in some areas, and it was the same pretty much. So I decided, you know what, we should probably train. We should train some more before we go into this fight. And really, I wanted to train Massive Dove because I knew Massive Dove would evolve into Berserker in 2 levels. So I went over to this area because I knew there was a Pokemon I could do. And I completely forgot Sock is here. My honor was challenged. With a powerful fighting type on my side and a powerful fighting type in the grass. it was time to strike. A battle of epic proportion occurred. A Pokemon that fights with its fists. A Pokemon that fights with its legs. I hit it with a fake out at the very start to catch it off balance, which worked. The sock is going to hit us very quickly with a low sweep and make it harder for us to move. It is a cunning opponent. I hit it with a Thunder Punch to weaken him and make it harder for him to initiate his next attack. It launches a double kick at us, but Rock Smash is well trained and can take the hits. Our Hitmonchan launches its Drain Punch and regains its health. As this epic battle concludes, I launch my Bullet Punch right into its gut, and this takes care of this powerful opponent. But in all seriousness, Sock is a quite powerful Pokemon, very comparable to Hitmonlee, very fast, hits very hard, and fortunately for us, we have a good Pokemon to take care of it. I just thought it was funny because it is like two combatants on a battlefield. So, now we are ready to actually... Yes, sorry, this is an important thing. While I was searching for Pokemon, I was searching for a female Duskull because I really wanted a Dusknoir, the final evolution of Duskull. Dusknoir and Dusclops, all of these three have all the characteristics that I really need on my team. They're very bulky, they can give status conditions. Ghost typing prevents you from being hit from normal and fighting type moves, which is very helpful. And it's resistant to some unique types like poison and bug. So I decided it would be a good idea to catch this ghost type Pokemon, even though it was hailing and it's hurting us both. So we send in Kiku to finish the job, so you could say, or so to say. Because I don't usually use ghost types in my playthroughs. I don't know why, necessarily. Especially when I know ones like Dusknoir and Gengar and Mismagius, are pretty strong Pokemon, no question. I think it may be because ghost types are kind of hard to raise, I think. Especially ones like Lampent and Chandelure that take a long time to train. Or ones like Gengar that you have to trade to evolve. But we have our Duskull here. This was actually like the third or fourth one I caught. I was trying very hard to get a good one. I just named her My. Which, if you are a weeb like me, I think you will get this reference. My. And I think that fit. Duskull's image pretty well, especially since it likes tampering with its opponents. So this will be our newest addition to the party, and I must say I am quite happy with how my has performed. We'll take a quick look at her. Notice that she has really good defenses and an attack boosting nature. She's slow, but she was slow anyway. It's Dusclops and Dusknoir and them are all really slow Pokemon. So now, I'm sorry about what I said before, now is when we trained. Oh, but here, listen.
Apocalypse Team. Team Leader. Brawler. Weapons Expert. Guy who dies first. Crazy ass.
So this will be our new team. Essentially, I decided to kind of celebrate it a little bit with a funny meme. Alright, so yes, we have My, Savory, Kiku, TT, and Massive Dub, and Rock Smash. We are actually going to put these away right now, because just like I did with Rock Smash and his personal training, we are going to leave just Massive Dub and My in the training gauntlet, I guess you could call it. Massive Dub evolves into Berserker at level 28. So it will only take 2 levels. And I know what you're probably saying. You're 1781987, why don't you just use the experience candies that you have? I know you just saw them right then. Well, I don't really like experience candies. In the last 2 playthroughs that I have played through of Pokemon Sword or Shield, using the candies felt cheap, too easy. It really did, especially since you get them very easily when you are going through the max rates. You get a bunch of these experience candies, and you treat them pretty much like you would treat a rare candy. And while there's nothing necessarily wrong with rare candies, it does prevent you from training in certain areas that would be helpful, like EV training, for example. And it is an interesting fact, when you use rare candies, your stats will level up randomly, but the EVs will not go up. I think that's true. If that's not true, then somebody correct me that the EVs don't go up when you use rare candies. But we trained against Sudowoodos because they give us defense EVs. Pretty much the same way that we trained up with Roly-Coolies. So it didn't really take that long. It probably only took about 10 minutes, and we have managed to get our Berserker. I must say Massive Dub is a lot more tolerable this way, because now it actually looks like a vampire? No, a Viking. What appears to be an iron helmet is actually hardened hair. This Pokemon lives for the thrill of battle. It also learned Iron Head, which is really nice. Iron Head's a nice, strong move to have, and it's an improvement over Metal Claw in pretty much every way. Plus, Iron Head also can flinch, which is pretty nice. So we're going to teach it Iron Head, which it actually does have an Iron Head now. So I like Berserker a lot more than I like Galarian Meowth, for sure. We're going to check out its stats. It doesn't have pickup anymore, so it won't do that anymore. So Massive Dub had a defense nature, but notice the attack and defense are very high. Very. The only area that Massive Dub isn't very good in, the only area that Berserker's not good in, is its speed is kind of lacking. It's not got the best speed in the world. You may have noticed it when I was talking, but it also has Battle Armor. And Battle Armor is an ability that prevents your Pokemon from being critted on. So basically, when I send out Massive Dub into battle, I know, in the back of my head, Massive Dub cannot be crit. It just doesn't happen. It will not get critical hits on it, because it has Battle Armor. Here's some of the Pokemon that I caught. There was some Coughings, there was a... Why am I blanking on the name of it now? Oh, well, there's a Lapras, and that's a really powerful Lapras. I thought that may actually make the job too easy. Nega Drowsy, which was a why am I forgetting now? Then there's a Shuckle that I just named Shuckster. I thought about Shuckle for a long time because Shuckle is very good defensively. Very, very good, and it would give us a solid anchor for the team for the future. However, Shuckle is very difficult to train. Very difficult. So it would take forever to train that thing, and I know it would. So looking back over what we have achieved here, we have caught a whole bunch of Pokemon, as you just saw. I have evolved Berserker, I have evolved a Manectric, so our Pokemon are stronger than before. And we also got our new team member in My, the Duskull, and so we have 6 team members, and they're all pretty high level. So we are going to go ahead, and I believe we are going to take on the gym next. And by that I mean Kabu's Fire-type gym. As previously discussed, I really don't like to skip through the gyms. I'd rather keep them at standard speed. So we are going to go through this in normal time, and we'll see what happens from there. Gonna go ahead and get our party fixed up here. Well, not fixed up, that's not the right term. We're going to give them some items and things that will help them be more effective. I gave My the Laxant Sense, so that's harder to hit her, which honestly it was a pretty good decision in the long run. Alright, so we're ready to go ahead and tackle the gym. Hop tells us he's already gotten the fire badge, and so we don't have to fight him, thankfully. Every time I see him. Alright, so here's Kabu. I put the information on the screen to kind of show you what he's got. He starts off with a level 25 Ninetales, and then followed by a level 25 Arcanine, and then he finishes off with his Gigantamax Centiskorch. Notice the Ninetales and Arcanine both have Will-O-Wisp. And Arcanine can be quite bulky with Bite, and it also has Intimidate. So it'll lower your attack when you send out a Pokemon in there. And Ninetales is also pretty fast. And Centiskorch is mostly dangerous because its fire type attacks hit very, very, very hard. So, if you've not seen it before, this is Kabu's gym. I must say, I really like the concept of this gym. It's very different than most gyms. Instead of fighting trainers, you fight wild Pokemon inside of a gym, which is pretty interesting. And you can even catch the Pokemon, which is probably the coolest part. Now, in the left side of the arena, you have a Vulpix. In the right side, you have the out-of-all forms Centiskorch. I don't remember the name right now, but we're going to see it here in a little bit anyway. And then in the top section, you have a Litwick. Technically speaking, Litwick is probably the hardest to obtain of all of these. My had Nightshade, which does damage equal to the level of the Pokemon, so every time My uses an attack, or every time it uses Nightshade, it's going to do 28 damage every time. For Pokemon of this level, that's pretty substantial damage. And it goes through defenses too, so that's pretty nice. As well, Duskull can also confuse and burn opponents. So this is a Pokemon that has really good statusing capabilities. So it was a welcome addition to the team, especially because you can do pretty naughty things with Confuse Ray. No question about that. So you have to get 5 points from either defeating or catching Pokemon in this gym to progress. You're going to see me healing My a lot because she kept getting burned or damaged. But she's very bulky, so she can take the damage, definitely. Now this trainer, she says status conditions are the greatest. She is one of the trainers that will actually attack you in battle. Ah, it was Sizzlipede. Sizzlipede. That was the name I was trying to remember. The gym trainer sends out a Salandit, and pretty much every single time, the Salandit will fight you instead of the Sizzlipede. I got lucky the first turn because it used Fake Out and I was a ghost, so it didn't matter. I decided to plan ahead and confuse the Salandit so that it could potentially not attack me, because in this situation, the Salandit and the Sizzlipede will both attack you, which could be quite dangerous in some situations. I got a little bit unlucky and I forgot the Sizzlipede has Bite, which is not good for our Duskull. My also is taking burn damage. My does have Payback, but we didn't really use it. So, I'm gonna swap out My to Savory. Pokemon in this gym just love to burn you. They love burning you. So you have to constantly have burn heals or Rost berries on hand so that you can take care of those awful burns. I think that's pretty reflective of burns in real life too. I've got many burns in my life from touching my hands on the stove or handling a hot pan, and you get that smooth but stingy, painful skin. And I think that's a pretty good translation into Pokemon too. Because when you have stingy, damaged skin and you're trying to fight something, then that would make it a lot harder to fight, I would think. It would limit your range of motion and make everything else painful. So there in the upper area we have a Litwick. For some reason every time I do this gym I forget what I'm doing. If you fight an opponent and you defeat the Pokemon in the grass, you get 1 point. However, if you catch the Pokemon in the grass and add it to your box, it will give you 2 points. So it actually is more, it's the smarter move is to catch them, because it will take less time. But me, I'm an idiot, and I always forget this, and so I generally end up fighting them every time, which is not really an efficient way of doing it. Besides, Vulpix is a good Pokemon. Sizzlipede can sometimes be difficult to obtain in the wild area. And Litwick is actually pretty rare. So, if you're ever going through this gym, I would highly recommend that you catch the Litwick, because that can be a difficult Pokemon to obtain in the wild area. It's probably something like you have to go into the ghost area when it's sunny, would be my best guess, but it's once in a blue moon, so if you can catch the Litwick now, it would be smarter. Gonna heal up and clean our burns off again. It's interesting that you can burn a ghost if you kind of think about that for a second. Alright, so again, I forgot what we were doing because of these long play sessions. I debated actually, stopping around this time to fight Kabu because I was tired. But I went into it. I decided let's give it a shot and we'll actually try Kabu. So in this situation, the Sizzlipede and the Litwick also fight you. Litwick is actually kind of dangerous to my mind because it can do super effective damage. But in this case, we actually got pretty good luck. And we fainted the Litwick. At this point, mentally I was thinking, crap, I should have caught the Litwick. I really should have. I still kind of regret it because Litwick is a pretty strong Pokemon. We have just one more Pokemon to face against. Unfortunately, we fainted the Litwick, so now we cannot catch it. So that was a miscalculation on my part. So I just go for the simple one. The left bottom corner, the trainer that you fight with, the Vulpix, actually helps you. So this guy is nice, he won't fight you. The other two trainers can or will fight you. So, for the other ones with Sizzlipede or Litwick, just be ready to take hits from your partner, which is stupid, but it's just how it is. So, we are almost to the point of getting to Kabu. And I must say, up to this point, I didn't feel good about fighting Kabu. I didn't. I don't like fighting Kabu. And it's one of those psychological barriers sometimes where you like think I can do it, but I don't want to do it. I can do it, but I don't want to try. And I think a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say that. I lose a lot of motivation when I get to Kabu. Not because he's particularly difficult. No, you could easily train and get past him, especially if you had a rock, water, or ground type on your hands. But he's just really tricky because, as you're about to see with Kabu, he has a variety of ways to make your gym experience quite miserable. So, here we go with Kabu. After all of that lead up that I just talked about, now we are ready to fight the veteran gym leader. You know, honestly, he kind of reminds me of Blaine from the first gen of Pokemon quite often. He's an old guy with a lot of experience, and he's really good at using fire types. Though Blaine was a mad scientist, and Kabu's some kind of martial artist, gym, mentor, leader. I don't really know much about Kabu past this game. I guess if you know anything about the anime, then that would be different. So we're going to arm our Pokemon with Rost Berries, because for these physical attackers, a Rost Berry would be disastrous. Sorry, a burn would be disastrous. So it would completely have our attack, and just notice that the gym leaders with Kabu, he goes out with you. Most of the other gym leaders will come out from the opposite side of the gym, which is interesting. So it's kind of interesting that Kabu's gym is a little different than that. He comes out with you jogging as he always does. He's a strange man. He's just a strange man. So here's Kabu. He acknowledges that we have beat the previous two gym leaders as an accomplishment. If you didn't notice it, I'm starting off with TT, because TT can paralyze and cause a lot of trouble for the opponents on his team, and is pretty fast. As you may remember, he starts off with Ninetales. The Ninetales will typically use burn, or it'll typically use the Will-O-Wisp to burn you. So I decided let's cripple it right off the bat with Thunder Wave. And we are pretty much just going to kind of play around with this Ninetales. Got lucky with the first turn because it paralyzed. Gonna go for Bite, the classic Bite paralysis combo. It flinches, which is pretty lucky. And then I go for Shockwave. We don't have the magnet on us anymore, so this won't do as much damage. It goes for Will-O-Wisp. This was planned ahead of time, and so we get burned, but then it immediately heals because of our Rossberry. And now Ninetales is at half health. We fish for a Bite again, see if we can get the paralysis or the flinch, and it works. And so for Ninetales, this is going very smoothly. Ninetales has really high special attack, so it can do a lot of damage to you. But this one was more focused on burning me. So it did actually get a burn off the second time. And we were going to finish off with a quick attack. I kind of thought Kabu would try to heal here with a super potion or something, but he didn't, which I thought was an odd move on him. So the Ninetales is out of the picture, and now we have to deal with his Arcanine. Arcanine has a completely different stat distribution to Ninetales, because Arcanine is actually rather bulky. It lowers our attack with Intimidate. Thankfully, TT is not really here to use attacks that way. We are going to use the same strategy where we will paralyze, and then it worked amazingly, just like last time. So TT is doing an amazing job here, honestly. And it's also partially that we're just getting really lucky. It's also partially part of it. Him lowering our attack didn't matter too much because we were using special attacks. We got a lucky second paralysis. So 2 paralyses in a row. That's how you say it. 2 paralysis. And then 3 paralysis. What is the odds of that? That's pretty rare. That's pretty rare. Meanwhile, TT is just hammering him with the shockwaves, and first 2 Pokemon, very clean. Very well done. TT has done a great job with just those 2 alone. And even though she's burned, she is going to continue on to Kabu's Ace, which, as we know, is the Gigantamax Centiskorch. As I said previously, Gigantamax Centiskorch has a very high special attack stat, and pretty much anything that it's going to use will do a ton of damage. So, I'm just going to leave TT in to take the damage for a clean switch in. I don't really like doing that, to be honest. Especially after TT did such a good job. TT did excellent this time. But we're just going to leave TT in here to take the hit. Sometimes sacrifices must be made for the greater good. Did get off a little bit of damage there. And we're doing this so that our team will have a clean switch in to Savory, so that Savory can do super effective flying damage on his 10-foot, 100-foot, I don't know how tall it is, bug. So here's Savory. Savory is now level 29. So it is, I think it's higher level? Yeah, it's higher level. So Savory was in a good position to do a lot of damage, even to a Gigantamax Pokemon, which has higher than normal stats. So we're going to Dynamax Savory. We've done this before in a few battles. And we're just going to go for the max airstream. There's no need to hesitate or anything. So hit him with strong flying type attack. Does pretty good damage. It should be a 2-hit KO. It uses G-Max Centinferno on us, like it did previously. It didn't even do half health on Savory, but it did have a fire spin effect, which I was surprised by that. I didn't know that that move did that. So we hit it with the second Airstream, and that was enough to take out his final Pokemon. So, to sum up that battle, that went brilliantly. That went very well. We only had to use 2 Pokemon. I originally thought I would have to use Mai to finish the battle, but Mai didn't even come into play. We only really needed TT and Savory for this fight, and TT did the brunt of most of the work. So, very good job, TT. I will give you some doggy treats later. So, we have completed Kabu's gym, and the reason this is significant is Kabu's gym will allow us to move on to the next wild area, or the next half of the wild area, which has a lot of stuff to find. We will not be covering the second half of the wild area in this episode, as it's a lot of stuff, and I wasn't able to fit it into this video, pretty much. So, we are just going to end our time here in Mostoke with flying colors, and he's given us a good TM, Will-O-Wisp. Mai already knew Will-O-Wisp, but I think I should be able to teach Will-O-Wisp to Kiku, maybe. It's a good move to have. And this is a well summarized fight. That was Kabu's gym battle was leagues better than Nessa's battle. That went way better. And it was partially because our Pokemon were well trained for it. So, we are ready to continue the story on and get out of Motostoke, finally. And Hop is with us, and all three of the gym leaders are going to see us off, which I thought was a nice little nod at the end of this little chapter of the game. So all three of them will see us off. Out of the three, Kabu was probably the hardest, but Nessa actually gave me a fair challenge this time, to be honest. Alright, so, and he is right, the next gym leaders that we are going to fight are going to be much tougher, no question. But now we get to move on to Hammerlock. So, we're going to stop here today. It's already been a fairly long video. I have another video coming up right after this one, and it was a delight to show you this to you, and be looking forward to quite a jam-packed video for the next time. I want to thank you for watching. This is your 17819987 signing out.